Hello and welcome to my little world. So today I'm doing something a little bit different. This past Monday I posted my video for the interior of my theater, and in the theater I have a little Cinderella statue that is a frame, and in the frame I put a picture of a castle. And I mentioned that this picture of a castle is something that I drew for a fairy tale that I helped create a number of years ago. And I thought it would be fun to share that fairy tale. So it was actually something that was written by my twin brother and his bride to be distributed at their wedding. And I did the illustrations for it and helped edit the story. So I would like to read you the story today because I think it's fun and I think you might enjoy it. So it's called A Little Fairy Tale by Elise and Robert, May 26, 2002. Once upon a time, in a far and distant land called South Carolina, lived a lonely princess known as Elise. She had searched the world over looking for her perfect, genteel knight, but alas, her search had come to naught, and with a heavy heart, she had decided to build herself a high tower from which she could view the world alone. Unbeknownst to her, she was laboring under an evil spell, so that she could see no beauty in a man with gilded hair. For in her search for her knight in shining armor, she had spurned a mighty warlock with hair as black as night. He had looked into his crystal ball and seen that her one true love would be a man as fair as he was dark, and in his fury he had doomed her to loneliness forever. Many leagues away, in a land washed with sun and framed by the sea, lived a genteel knight called Sir Robert, who had resigned himself to his fate, that of being alone. For on one of his quests he had stopped for a drink of water at a well enchanted by a siren. In spite of her alluring song, he had walked away. This had angered her so much, she had cast a spell upon him that infused his life with a longing for the perfectly proportioned woman, when, as all know, this doth not truly exist. So he lived in loneliness and dedicated himself to doing good and fighting evil computer bugs in the world, little knowing what had happened. Unbeknownst to Princess Elise and Sir Robert, a powerful fairy godmother was watching over both of them. She worked a little magic to ensure that their lonely worlds would collide. She was determined that if they were good enough and strong of faith, she would help them break their evil spells. To have enough gold to build her lonely tower, Princess Elise toiled for a mercantile called NCR, ruining her lily-white hands. Lo and behold, she was assigned to create a magic campaign, for what else can you call marketing but magic, for Sir Robert's creation, the Binet. This invention allowed computing beasts to toil together, creating a great and magical data-breathing dragon. Carrier pigeons strained mightily to carry communications back and forth between the two, and what began as business became friendship and then romantic interest. Seeing that her efforts were bearing fruit, the fairy godmother blew a little fairy dust upon them both. She looked over all her assistants, determined to find the right fairies to perform a special assignment, to bring them together in spite of the distance between them. Unfortunately, all her good fairies were busy, and only Puck and Mischief were available. They had been grounded for using obvious magic, which is of course not allowed. Nevertheless, she was determined to assist Princess Elise and Sir Robert that very day. So in spite of grave misgivings, she assigned Puck and Mischief, warning them that they must only use subtle magic. The first thing the pair did was create a way for Princess Elise and Sir Robert to talk to the air and hear each other in return. Ah, what amazing a spell! After recovering from their astonishment, they spent many an hour learning each other's hearts, minds, and souls, but never seeing what the other looked like. Cloaked in the veil of distance, they resisted their evil spells and fell magically in love with each other. With a love so rare, they could feel each other's heartbeat, feel the other's energy course through their veins, and know the goodness in each other's soul. Puck and Mischief then loaned Robert and Elise their wings for a day, so that they could meet. But when at first they did, they trembled with fear. Princess Elise exclaimed, "Oh my God, you've got gilded hair!" And Sir Robert replied, "Oh my God, you're not a siren!" It was a great shock for them both. In the meantime, their fairy godmother had gotten wind of the premature meeting and was rushing to them, barely remembering to grab 2 buckets of EFD, emergency fairy dust, on her way. Fortunately, she arrived in the nick of time. Their true love, and lots of EFD, helped them break the last vestige of their evil spells. Love did conquer all, revealing that neither gilded hair nor plump body could stand in the way of true love. Upon their return to Earth, Princess Elise and Sir Robert were a bit bewildered. Neither was sure what had happened. They finally decided their airborne flight had just been a dream they somehow shared. Fairy Godmother found Puck and Mischief sitting under an old tree stump deep in the forest. They were sweating bullets. They had blown it for sure this time. However, showing extraordinary patience, Fairy Godmother decided to give them one last chance. She explained that Elise and Robert were still living thousands of miles apart and were afraid of the changes that would happen if they came together. What if one of them moved across the world and the relationship didn't work? So she told Puck and Mischief, "This is your last chance. You must help them make it work or you'll be assigned to permanent tooth duty." Well, that was all they needed to hear. Puck and Mischief loathed the dreaded tooth duty, so they went into hyper overdrive. The instant an obstacle arose, they got rid of it. Elise needed a job in California. Snap! They pulled some strings and it appeared. They took care of problems so fast that Robert and Elise could see and feel the magic around them. Oops. Unfortunately for Puck and Mischief, that was the end of the line, and the fairy godmother decided to take over the case herself. She did let them off the hook after a couple months of handling teeth from beneath pillows. Princess Elise took the risk and determined to visit Robert by riding to him for a long time on the back of her white horse. She visited Sir Robert on the edge of the world in San Diego. It was a week of dreams filled with magical moments, and she knew then that she must give up her lonely tower and move to Sir Robert's country of California. So she filled a carriage with all her belongings and left behind her cold and lonely tower forever, moving into Sir Robert's castle by the sea. They lived together very carefully for a long time, for they realized that they were both quite used to living alone and weren't the least bit sure they could handle sharing Robert's castle. All went better than either could have imagined, and they each realized that the other was the love of their life, their best friend, and really good castle mate. Eventually, Robert realized that his life would not be complete without Elise as his bride, and on a romantic beach at sunset, he asked her to marry him. So on May 26, 2002, they pledged their troth on the water in front of all their family and friends, then rode off into the sunset on his charger and lived happily ever after. the end. But their story is only just beginning. I hope you liked that. I have more fairy stories, ones that I've written myself, as well as poems and short stories and other things that I've written over the years. And I'm thinking that I will begin sharing them in videos in the future. So I hope you'll look forward to those. And thank you for coming to visit today. Bye-bye.